Hi, Ali from Another Stitch Your Fingers here. Today, as promised, I am going to be doing the Tommy phone stand. It's very similar to the Tommy tablet stand. Oops, it's upside down. But obviously, this is for a phone. So, I will quickly show you this. That's the bottom. So, you can put your phone on there. I have got one to show you. This is one that I've made out of my own fabrics, because I'm happy for people to make to sell afterwards. But basically it folds up nice and flat. You can pop it in your handbag if you're going anywhere. The hook and loop goes together, and then you've got buttons which are basically your stoppers to stop your phone from falling off. I've put a little pocket on the back so I can store maybe a little ruler and scissors or a pen, whatever. So that is what we're going to be making today. I've done a little bit of prep, just because it's fusing basically, and we don't want to be stood watching me fuse. So I tell you in the instructions to cut out the interfacing, and it's a really firm interfacing. So I do tell you what sizes to cut, and I recommend that you write the sizes on. So we've got 3/4 of an inch, 3.5, 4 1/4, 4 1/4 and 3/4, and you do that for both pieces. It's just so that you know which piece is which, because the base part is the 3.5 and the standy up parts are the 4 1/4. Now I've cut mine a little shallow, but I was just using scraps up, so yours will be to the very edge, which is 4.5 inches. So first of all, we fuse those on. I've just got my little iron and it does it absolutely fine. I do have a press cut for my scan and cut, basically for vinyl, and that works absolutely fantastic. But if you don't have one, don't worry, just use your normal iron and get those fused on. Once you've got that, oh, by the way, the fabrics, I do them in kit form in lots of different fabrics. This is some fabric that we've got in stock. It's a John Loudon Citrus, I believe it's called. And I just thought that would be really nice for maybe putting outside on the patio when we're having dinner around the table, and you can put your phone there so you know where it is. Anyway, so basically what you need to do is make sure that all these tally up. So you put in the 3/4 of an inch with the 3.5 and 4 1/4, 4 1/4, so on, so that they all fold in the same way. Right, once you've got that done and you've got everything else cut out, first thing I'm going to do is the little pocket. You don't have to put this on if you don't want to, but you may as well. It's always handy to have a little bit of somewhere to put a pen or something. So I'm just going to stitch around 3 sides. I mean, I could really do it with just 2 because I have got it on the fold, but just as it tells you in the pattern, I'll do it the same. So I'm just turning the corner. Actually, no, I don't even tell you to do that. You just need to do the top and bottom. So I will quickly, actually, I'll go and get another piece. That is for a different pattern. So what you need to do is fold your, actually I've dropped my hook and loop as well. I'll be looking for that later. So just fold it in half, and I'm going to stitch down the 2 long sides. I've got so many patterns running around in my head. This is a nice easy one though. It's really quick. So I'm just going to do both sides, because both ends, because the edges are going to be in the binding, so you don't need to do those. Fold out the right way, and we're just going to press that. So I'm just going to put that on my board and press it nice and flat. That's one side. There we go. Now I'm just going to top stitch 2 rows of stitching down the top section. I'm going on the very edge, which probably will be about 1/8 of an inch. And it's just because I like the look of this. And then I'm going to do about 1/4 of an inch away from that as well. So you can see we've just got 2 rows of stitches on there. So now what you need to do is work out which part is your flat bit, and this is why we label them. So I know that's the 3.5. So the citrus is going on the outside, so that will fold in like that. So we know that the pocket needs to go on this 4 1/4 section here, and we need the opening at the top here. So just lay that on, take the bottom away, make sure it's just after the section. So just lay that so that you can still fold your piece up, and then I'm going to stitch along the very edge of the pocket. And then 1/4 inch away again. So that now looks like that, but that part is open. So I'm just going to stitch down the sides here to hold all that in place. Just on the very edge. On the opposite side. We will be trimming it all level afterwards. So that is the pocket section done. So while we've got this here, we know that that's the top. This is the part that needs to fold under, and I like to put the hook part of the hook and loop on there. So I'm going to take the hook part off, and we're going to place this over the top of the 3/4 inch section of interfacing, but on the right side. So just place it directly over the top, making sure that the piece can still fold. And we're going to stitch that in position. So there you can see we stitched over that and it still folds nicely. I'm just going to trim off the sections of overhanging hook tape. So that is the main side done. So on this piece here, that's the base part. So we need to put the loop part onto the 3.5 section, but on the right side, so that the little flap can fold up. So we're just going to place that on top of the 3.5 section and stitch that in place. Again, take this out and snip off the overhanging loop part. And that is what that looks like. So on the back, you can see it's stitched over the 3.5 section there. So now what we need to do is get the wadding. I'll cut it to the size as required. And we're going to turn the lining piece over. And where the 3/4 section is, we're going to put 2 pieces of wadding directly over the top of that 3/4 inch section there, and I'm just going to stitch down both sides just to keep that in place, just at the very edge, just to keep it secure. And that's going to give a little bit of padding to make it a bit thicker for your phone so it doesn't fall off. So that's covering that up, and on the right side you can see we've just stitched down both edges. Now we're going to take the full length of the wadding, place that directly over top of the lining, and I'm going to stitch all the way around. You can do it in quite a big stitch, it's just basically basting it, but it just makes it a lot easier. So line up all the edges, pull it quite taut. So I'm on a 4, stitch length 4, and I'm just stitching down the very edge, keeping all those edges together. the opposite side. And across the top edge. So that's holding everything in place on there. Now we're going to put the sections together, and we're putting them wrong sides together. So make sure you've got the same ones. You should have the hook and loop on opposite ends now. So you should have the hook on that end and the loop on that end. And we're going to do exactly the same, stitch those two together. And then we'll give it a nice trim, and it just needs binding and it's done. How quick is that? I really love them as well. They're really useful. Just move that out of the way. I think it needs much trimming. If you find it easy to clip, then by all means go ahead and clip everything in place. So I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the messy parts here, and we'll get some binding and sew that on. So I'll get rid of that. I couldn't find any lime green binding, so I'm going to use this orange, which I thought matched in lovely. And I'm going to start on the lining side. I'm going to fold back about 1 centimetre and place that onto the back, lining up the edges at the side. Oops, I'll put my stitch length back. And I'm opening the binding up and stitching on that fold as we go. I'm going to stitch until I'm about 1/4 inch away from the corner. I'm going to pivot my work and stitch off to the corner. I will show you that. It's quite good that I've sewn it in green actually. So I'm just stitching along the crease, and I've just stitched off to that corner. So what I need to do now is fold the binding up, and you can see it likes to do that mitre there. Hold that in position and then bring the binding back down level with that side, and we're going to stitch carrying on all the way around. Make sure you just fold out the edge so it's all matching up, and you're stitching it along that fold. So exactly the same. Stitch to the corner, stitch off, fold your binding up so it forms that mitre, hold it in position, bring it back down level with the side, and carry on stitching along that fold. To another corner, do exactly the same. Fold up, hold it, bring it back down level with the opposite edge, and carry on stitching. Last corner. And again, bring your binding up, hold it and bring it back down level with the side, carry on stitching. So we're going to stitch until we just go about 1 centimetre past where we started, and So that's what it looks like where we've folded over the top. The corners look like that with that little bit of piece. And what we're going to do is fold all this to the back, or rather to the front. I'm going to top stitch. So I'm going to bring this binding over to cover those stitches. Now you can either sew it by hand. I'm going to do it by machine because I'm just keeping this one for myself. If you're doing it for a gift or something, it might be nicer to hand stitch that in place and then hand stitch the buttons on. But I'm going to do it with the machine just so you can see it finished. So I do like to use a stiletto. I don't know where mine is. What I do is here. And I just basically pull the binding over, hold it in place with the stiletto and stitch. Fold the binding up at the corners till it forms a nice mitre, and just carry on all the way around. Making sure you cover those stitches up. The stiletto really does help. It's like having an extra pair of hands. But they're very useful hands, they're not like mine. And the next one. I think these make lovely gifts. So just covering up where we started. Make sure it looks nice and neat. Last corner. So I'll just tuck in all the bits of cotton in, making it look nice and neat. Back tack at the end. And I did find some really nice yellow buttons, but I'm not sure what I've done with them. So now all you need to do is just put a little bit of memory into it by just folding along those creases, and this is the one that's going to make it all stay in place. So this is going to come down onto the piece there, and you've got your lovely little pocket at the back. See if I can find those buttons. Where have they gone? Not to worry, I'm going to put the 2 buttons on here, and then that is my phone stand complete. So I hope you'll give it a go. Everything's available on my website, alistitchfingers.co.uk, and a lovely project. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching.